Hi, this is Captain Adam from Reel to Reel Outdoors. Thanks for tuning in to Captain's Roundtable. We have some great captains with us today, and we also have a live audience, which is kind of a new thing that we're starting with the Captain's Roundtable. If you'd like more information about being part of that audience, get a hold of Captain Chuck's in Ludington, right there, and we'll be happy to get you signed up for the next one and let you know when it is. So before we get started, we got to thank some awesome sponsors, Captain Chuck's 2 in Ludington, Michigan, and Ludington Beverage. So let's meet those captains.
Hi, I'm Captain Dave Ellis from Salmon Slayer Sport Fishing Charters, Ludington, Michigan.
Hi, I'm Captain Micah Schmidt, Hiatus Charters, Ludington, Michigan.
And I'm Captain Kevin Pomorski, Feed and Time Charters, Ludington, Michigan.
All right, once again, thanks for tuning in. Reel to Reel Outdoors, Captain's Roundtable Live. We got a great question. What are your absolute must-own meat rigs? What are your rigs? Where you're running them? How do you use them? If you do any fancy tie-in? No, I don't know. So we'll see what everybody's go-to meat rigs are. But before we get started, we got to thank Goose Island Lemon Shandy for the sponsorship today. I tell you what, this stuff is really good. This is a great summer drink. So make sure you grab some of that to drink after you get in with your boat. But let's get things rolling. Kevin, you want to show us the way to handle your meat?
All right. Well, I guess to start off, I'd say before I introduce any meat rigs, one of the most important things about a meat rig, what I always do is when I throw it in the water, I always make sure that this head is spinning. You don't want it to just throw it in the water and it just drag there. You want to make sure it's flipping. You don't want like a super crazy flip, but you want to make sure it's working and it's working properly. So, and in that case, you would, tweak the head a little bit here and there.
And there's a captain who's passed now, but Kenny Warren from KRW Flies. He always said that 1,000. That's the rate that you want it to go. And I tell you what, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So,
but now onto the meat rigs. This green gasoline, I like to run it. One of the many I like to run behind the Kevin's Girlfriend, 8 or 10 inch. I run it in several different areas. I mean, divers, leg cores, not much on the riggers, but mainly divers and leg cores, coppers, 200s, 250s, 350s, even 450s. I don't really run it any higher than a 200 normally. Then we have the green fish scale.
it has another name too.
We like to call this one the early rig. This flasher with the Pickled Sunshine meat rig behind it. It is amazing on your divers and say a 300, 350, 250 copper. But divers, absolutely. I like it on my high diver, but it works great on your low diver. Just an all-around great bait. I run it pretty much every time I go out. Once I start running meat rigs, which late June to early July on through early September. Then Mountain Dew and the Blue Confetti. Great rig. Love it on a high wire. I will run on copper occasionally, but mainly on a high wire. And then a Glow Blue Bubble and a Blue Bubble. That one, same. High wire and select cores, 200 to 350 or so, 400. That would be my pick of 4 meat rigs I would definitely have on my boat.
All right. Micah, What do you got down there?
Well, I kind of took a different approach today. I knew we were going to see some of the staples, so I went for my bright, sunshiny days and one rainy day bait or one deep water bait. I would say number one, there's not too many days that I often like to say I'm looking forward to seeing some sunshine. But when the kings are eating meat and they're firing, you put a chrome killer with a green UV meat rig on a high diver, and if they're in that 60, 70, 80 foot range, you're going to catch big kings.
Flip that around. Let me see the other side.
So chrome killer, green UV meat rig, must have. Sun comes up, it goes on. It usually doesn't come off. It's also good on a 275, 300, 350 copper. That's a great bait. My afternoon charters, people get on the boat, say, what are you running? And I'll have my bait sitting down on the gunnels. I like the yellow sparkler. I like the blue sparkler. I like the green sparkler. This is a UV on ice meat rig. This is the blue UV meat rig. So this is a good way to start my afternoon charter. Get some meat in the water. I like it on high diver, low diver, and again those deep coppers. And then for kind of a cloudy, rainy, kind of ugly day, and the fish are down deep. This UV spin doctor, and then the purple UV meat rig. This is a deadly bait. This is good on a downrigger. Put it down 80, 90, 100 foot, 120 foot. You're going to catch.
I've seen that work before.
It's tournament proven. It's
Tournament proven.
Go ahead, Dave.
Davey?
Well, my favorites are this is the yellow bikini bottom. The green one's really good too, but I use a pickled sunshine meat rig.
Huh.
Pickled sunshine. Imagine that. That one's been very good. I run that a lot. On bright sunny days, I've taken a lot of fish, trolling in the harbor out of PM Lake with a meat rig. This one too, same thing. It's a little chewed up and beat up, but it's also a pickled sunshine meat rig, and that is on the Dragon Slayer blade, which is another good blade for bright sunny day. And two, I've caught a lot of fish out of PM Lake on that one. And then this is the old Chrome Kevorkian, and this blade is very good on occasion. I like to run it first thing in the morning and later on in the evening just before dark. And this has got a Green Mile meat rig that has had apparently lost a head, and I put a Dreamweaver glow green head on it. But that one's been very good for me. This one, first thing in the morning, the black with green dot glow crush blade, and it's got a black UV on ice meat rig on it, and as you can see, it's got quite a long leader on it too. I like to retie them and make my meat rigs fairly long, especially for the paddles and the 10-inch blades. And I also redo all my flies and meat rigs. They have a single hook tied above the treble
With the snell tied on there?
It's all snelled on there, and I found that really helps my landing percentages. Don't lose quite as many fish with that particular rig. Takes a lot of time and effort to redo all those, but I feel it's worth it.
All right, so I'll kind of back clean up here. Blue Bubble, been around forever. We're running it. Usually a Blue Bubble meat rig behind there or a UV blue. Either one of those, very good combination there. Dragon Slayer, that's a great blade. Definitely daytime blade. A lot of times we're putting meat out as the sun comes up, and that with a Green Mile or a green UV, both very good. I would say really like the staple of everybody's existence is going to be a pickled sunshine rig behind a double pearl, you can put that anywhere you want it, and it produces fish. I mean, it's very seldom that there isn't one of these in the water for us. And I would say most guys are probably in the same boat. It's definitely a first thing in the morning rig. It's definitely a long copper rig. If you don't have one, buy 2 or 3. And if you don't have a pickled sunshine, you probably should just buy like a dozen of them. I'm hearing that they're going to be available again in July, so we're hoping that's the truth. We really like the Dreamweaver. They make an awesome meat rig. We also big water tackle. This is kind of where we all started out, was running their stuff, KRW and big water tackle stuff. UV Green is one that is a staple for us. The Green Mile, as Dave mentioned, that's an awesome rig. And then UV on ice, kind of the first of all the UVs. These work really good in dark conditions and in light conditions. It doesn't really seem to matter too much. And then they've kind of extended that. They have that UV black, awesome. There's a ton of variations. I don't know if they still make the Hot Lobster, but I really like that one. It was a UV on ice with a glow head on it. For us, we tend to stick with the original lengths. After seeing Dave's magic rig there, we may start to tie some longer ones. We might have to have Dave come over and the Salmon Slayer series and see what we can come up with. But for the most part, we're running a 3 teaser rig with a meat head and pretty standard length. I think it's right around 48 inches. Might be a little bit longer.
It's pretty close.
So if we're retying those, we're keeping them pretty similar to that. I do like to reconfigure them sometimes with glow heads, so you get a little bit more glow in the teasers. But you can also do that with a bead by wrapping around the bead or crimping behind the bead and put glow beads behind all your stuff. That'll kind of do the same effect. So I think that's kind of the meat rig program. If you guys, our live audience here, we'll see if we have any questions.
When you're retying, do you crimp or do you like to wrap around the bead?
So that's a great question. I personally wrap the bead. I've never had one fail. A long time ago, we had a lot of bad crimps, and it was a manufacturing issue. We won't talk about it too much, but we broke off a bunch of kings, and so I started doing this wrap thing, and all you're doing is you're going through your teaser. Let me grab one here. So you go through your teaser, and then you put your bead in your line, and you go back through the bead. So you're wrapping around the bead, and that's going to lock your teaser in place. And I did that for a long time. So pretty much everything that I'm retying is going to be done that way. Almost everything that we retie is on 40-pound fluoro as well. So that's our way at it. I don't know about you guys.
If I'm in a hurry doing it, I usually won't put anything on there. Just string them up, and then you just put a rubber band around it and pull it up and just let the rubber band be the stopper. It's not going to hurt your line. You may have to replace the rubber band eventually, but it lasts a pretty good long time.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it too. I didn't even think about that. So you can just take a rubber band like you would for a fixed stack and wrap it around and then just trim it off. You just want to leave maybe a 1/4 inch or 3/8 of an inch at the most, and that'll stop the bead, and then the teaser will hang up on that. So that's another way to do it. That's a really quick fix for your meat heads. If your meat head keeps sliding down and you don't have that piece of tube in there, you can do that, or you can plug it with the toothpick. So you can take a toothpick and shove it into the bottom of the meat head. So if your rig is like this, you can shove a toothpick right in here and then break it off, and that'll hold your meat head at the right distance. And that's a big thing. George was a huge from George Freeman from Freestyle Charters. Kevin fished with him for a long time, and I got to learn a ton from that guy. But he was always adamant that when you put your meat in there, that tail of the meat, so it'd be right here, would be right at the shank of the hook, and that there's nothing interfering with that. And then he also would talk about trimming it. So if it was too wide, he would trim it down. And he would taper the whole thing so that you're going to a point at the back.
And that was especially when you couldn't buy meat strips.
Yeah,
when we were making our own. We were making our own everything then. Yeah, rigs, meat, everything.
And if you need meat this year, Capt and Chuck's has a lot, and they have some variation. I do believe they may even have some herring. So if you're looking to try something a little bit different, before there was ballyhoo, there was herring, and that's what everybody used. And now it looks like we may have herring again, so we hope so. All right, so any other questions?
If you're not buying your meat, how do you prep your meat for your meat rigs?
All right, that's a good question. I've had that one quite a few times. Most people buy meat strips. I like to brine my own. So I'll buy whole herring or ballyhoo. I do believe you could do it with alewife. I've never tried it. But with herring, I'll take a package of herring. It'll be frozen, usually Blue Label. And you put it into a gallon bag. Fill it most of the way with water. And then I'm going to add a cup of salt, usually some kind of kosher, canning salt, and then a cup of borax, which is like a booster for your laundry. And you take that and mix it together as best you can. Put the herring in there, leave it for about 24 hours. And what that does is it toughens it up. It'll make the scales hold on, and then you can fillet that. And I usually use a sharp paring knife, and I fillet it out, and then I'll trim it into a triangle, but not quite so much as what you would buy in the package. And then we use like utility scissors on the boat, and we'll trim it once we get it we'll trim it into the meathead, and then we'll trim it the rest of the way. But it actually is a great way to make your own. It's very, very resilient. You can catch a lot of fish on one piece. It doesn't seem to get mushy. And then Micah, he always puts it in. We'll put kosher salt in a small container, and when we take that meat off, or when we store it after we cut it, it goes in that kosher salt, and that kind of draws the moisture out of the meat, so it kind of firms it up again. But really it's good. It's a lot of work. It's much easier to buy strips, but it does produce very well, and it holds up usually quite a bit better than normal. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode about meat rigs and what we're doing and how we're running them and our go-tos. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to email me right there. Do you see that? Magic. So anyways, thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see you guys again next week.